In celebration of the 400th anniversary of the King James Bible and the 25th anniversary of the C.S. Lewis Foundation, Book of the Millennium International is sponsoring its second literary tour of England in the summer of 2011. Stay tuned at the end of this video to learn how you can become one of the 10 essayists to win an all-expenses-paid journey. Now, here are some highlights of our first literary tour of England.
Hello, I'm Suresh Guptara.
And I'm Jyoti Guptara.
Welcome to our literary tour of England.
10 kids, 10 days.
London, Cambridge, Oxford.
Our quest to study the greatest minds in English literature.
All the vision of one man.
His name is Vishal Mangalwadi. He's a professor in California.
As I began to realize that books, writers, translators, they reform the West, I felt that other young people, particularly writers, needed to come and do their own investigation, to think radically.
So with much prayer and great anticipation, Vishal held a contest. Kids from around the world could win a literary tour of England by writing an essay on our book, Conspiracy of Calaspia, an epic tale we started when we were 11 years old. Our father, Prabhu.
But the family belief has always been that if God has given you a particular dream, a particular desire, a particular ambition, then that's what you should go for, because however tough the path, that is actually your path in life. That's what you should go for. And so when the kids started writing at the age of 11, I just followed the family tradition.
With our family's support, we've been able to follow our dreams, and now these essay winners are embarking on dreams of their own.
People just tell you, you're born in the hood, you're gonna stay in the hood. And you know, I'm trying to be an example that it doesn't always have to be like that.
Laura Villafana is from Compton, California. She says each day she is in England is a dream come true.
Being here, it's been such a great opportunity because coming from a community where I come, you know, we don't have these kinds of opportunities. So it's great that, you know, people like Vishal are organizing these things for people that live in urban communities such as myself and providing us these, you know, these things that we don't see back home.
Armed with poetry and insight, Lucy Rogers says she is living her dream.
When I sent off my story to the Calaspia people, I never envisioned being one of the 10 winners. And I never thought that I would be able to experience these things that I've had on the tour of England. And I would just like to encourage people from all across the world who will see this to get involved in those things that they think are unachievable and fulfill their dreams.
Chris Johnson, a teen from Minnesota, is overwhelmed by this unique opportunity.
It's meant a lot to me, but it's not something I can easily express. I mean, this is something you never really do in your life. How often does a 14-year-old make a journey to England and learn about ancient, I wouldn't call them ancient, but for lack of a better word that I can't think of right now, old writers.
And study writers we did.
One of the themes we explored is that the pen is mightier than the sword. We take this for granted in the West, but people died for this. People burned at the stake for this.
William Tyndale, strangled and killed for translating the Bible into English. John Wycliffe, called a heretic, his books were burned. John Bunyan, imprisoned for his beliefs.
The idea that the pen is mightier than the sword is a peculiarly Western idea. Writers fought the sword, the state, with their pen and persuaded the masses that this is the truth, these are the better principles, better ideas, to the point then the kings became afraid of imposing their, and not just the kings, but religious leadership, popes and bishops and priests, they were challenged by the pen.
These people really they gave their lives. Some were burned at the stake, and what they believed, I think, showed a lot of moral courage.
Mary Johnson, a parent who took part in the tour, says she was moved by the things she learned.
It's made me want to go out and read what they've written. They changed the world with their writings and changed our world with their writings.
Patty Hitchcock, who made the trek with their son Calvin, who at 13 is the team's youngest winner, says these kids are now disciples.
I think these are the future leaders, I really do. If they can spark their culture and ignite their culture, their generation, more power to them.
For Vishal, it's a matter of life and death of an entire culture.
The West, in my opinion, is amputating its soul. And you have total emptiness with icons such as Britney Spears and Paris Hilton. And therefore, I want the young people in America to look at alternative role models.
I think it's very, very good for our young people to, sort of trace back what happened in history and what was motivating people at that time and how they stood up for certain practices that were evil and what motivated them, what sort of charged them up to fight the fight, and they did, and the world is a different place today.
That insight comes from Pramod Huck, an American businessman who sponsored the tour.
One of the reasons why I sponsored this project, because I felt it really made sense for the students to understand as they look at literature, to be able to sort of look at it perhaps from a different perspective, a perspective that they won't hear at schools these days.
We came in search of the soul of Western civilization, but what we found was so much more.
Along the way, we met fascinating scholars like Oxford professor John Flint, who taught us about Shakespeare, Charles Dickens and John Milton.
Villains are right in behind us, right between us, whispering in our ears. Hey, you're a bit like me, aren't you?
As the days went by, our brains loaded with knowledge, our eyes inspired by beauty, we also took time to play. There was punting on the Cam in Cambridge.
On the left, watch your head, watch your head. We're gonna crash. Oh! I think we're just gonna keep crashing into everything.
A game of cricket in Oxford. Museums and more museums. Churches and more churches. We found trash can troubadours. Witnessed much ado about nothing. We met real-life characters straight out of Dickens.
Things were rather different in those days.
And at the end of each day, we pondered in parks. And as the days slipped by one, we knew parting would be such sweet sorrow.
I miss everyone when I go back home. I'm going to take back all the memories of England, of the people who I spent time with, the places, what I saw.
We made friends from around the world. We touched the lives of those who touched our lives, and some found a deeper purpose.
I won't ever be the same again.
I think that I'm going to use my experiences to encourage others to do the same thing. And I want to use what I've learnt on this tour for the benefit of others.
The amazing thing is that they could be the next Charlotte Bronte. They could be the next Wilberforce. They could be the very next C.S. Lewis. Because we need them.
That they will begin to change their generation and future generations. So that's the long-term agenda.
Thanks for accompanying us on our literary tour of England.
Now go and pick up a book.
Consider joining us on our next tour. For contest rules and to download an application, go to www.revelationmovement.com. You could be part of our exciting, all-expenses-paid 2011 literary tour of England. And if you don't win, don't worry. We will give copies of our fantasy novel to 500 of the best entries. We look forward to hearing from you.